Hello, and welcome back to More Media Records Off the Air podcast for our new season, the spring semester of 2022. I'm Matt.
I'm Lauren.
I'm Christian.
And we're back here in Moore Hall 182. And if you want to check out the More Media Records group that we have, the meetings are on Thursday at 7, right? Yes. 7. So Come check us out. Come talk about music. Come meet people that love music. And even people that just love art in general, which is kind of our topic, is the mixture of two very great types of entertainment. And it is music and video games, and especially the soundtracks and the ways video games can use music to its advantage. So I'll bring it to you guys. What is, when you think of like the perfect video game music soundtrack, one that's like you can put on as almost like you could put on at a party or on the car, and no one would question like, oh, this is just good music.
I mean, I don't know about like a party.
Yeah, maybe not a party.
I don't know. I think like I'm so cheesy. I don't play a lot of games. You two know this already about me. I'm kind of sitting in like trying to understand the whole vibe of gaming, video games and stuff. But when I think of good music in terms of video game music, I think of like Undertale, Ocarina of Time. I love all of the Zelda soundtracks. Like that's my ish.
Mm-hmm.
And Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing is always the one. I'll see on like YouTube playlists. It'll be like anything that involves chill, study, relax.
Yep.
Always has Animal Crossing, which is perfect.
See, when you first started talking about our favorite games and our favorite soundtracks and games, and then you went and said like specifically at a party, I was like, cause in my mind I was thinking Skyrim.
Okay, yeah.
So and then I just imagine like a party of just a bunch of Skyrim NPCs just interacting with each other.
Dovahkiin.
Yeah, Dovahkiin.
That's funny.
Yeah, I brought that up just because a lot of ones I listen to and a lot of the ones I try to take inspiration from when writing some own music is games like Crypt of the Necrodancer, Bastion, Toe Jam and Earl, and there's specifically like artists that already have like electronic music outside of it, and then they craft songs for in a video game setting, which is the most important. You have to be able to hear it a whole bunch. It has to sit in the background, be it stand out enough for you to want to bop to it, and it has to repeat well and kind of follow the theme of what's happening in games. So to kind of have that's a whole big recipe that takes a lot of skill, and especially those games I love. Oh, and Jet Set Radio. Do you guys know that game?
I've never heard of that.
No.
It's an old one. Oh, so like my first, I guess, like major thing I love is I'm a big fan of like the 90s, early 2000s era of things. Mainly because in the 90s, the big thing was like hip hop, like basketball, kind of like this like really loose, funky stuff. Like, right? Think of like cheesy stuff. But like Jet Set Radio, it was like skater punker kids on rollerblades spray painting like around the city. And the soundtrack is bombing. Like it is so funky and like kind of like J-pop, J-City like stuff. And also, like, games like Toe Jam and Earl, like in the Sega Genesis. The Sega Genesis had its own sound chip that specifically really helped with, like, punchy bass lines. And that whole game is just, like, quick, punchy, like, funky beats that, you know, I just love. And actually, just, you know, sometimes I have on my workout playlist and it just gets me going.
Gets you hype.
So you big like a 2D platformer guy?
I'm a big fan of anything.
Okay.
I'm a big video game lover, but also, I think the games that are great, it depends on if it fits the game well. And just specifically, I think those soundtracks can fit outside of the game a little bit better than, say, like Zelda, even though some Zelda songs slap.
Yeah.
They all, okay, I don't know about that. Them's fighting words. They all slap. I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast, probably have, because it's now a functional part of my being, but I was a camp counselor. And when I was a camp counselor, I was always listening to the Zelda soundtracks while like walking around with my kiddos, because it just felt right. Like we're in the tall grass, like hanging out with like these little kids. We're all jumping around and having our little adventure. That and Animal Crossing. I did do a few Animal Crossing soundtracks on there too, because it was just calming vibes for the rascals that I had to deal with. Also, you were talking about like early 2000s, 90s era, like skate stuff. And I'm thinking Tony Hawk.
Yeah, Tony Hawk
Pro Skater, bro. Like, I never played, but I always watched my friends play because, once again, I'm not a gamer girl. And I loved the music. Like, it was fun. Always been a lover of music. So, like, sitting back and watching these kids play.
Well, like, back in the day, I remember, like, when it came out for me, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 was on the N64, and I went to my uncle's house. It's like, I was probably like, 6 or 7, and I like hear this music and I like it, but I never really like put 2 and 2 together for as like, oh, this is like real music out there you can buy with the CD. So I imagine for a lot of people, like games like that, like you see a song pop up in the lower corner, you're like, oh, let me just like look that up and save that. Especially today with like music streaming platforms. But Tony Hawk games, man, like they had like Papa Roach in there. They had like, I know they had like just a lot of like standard punk stuff that like, I was never that much of a punk fan, but it made sense listening to it.
Right.
I mean, like, especially with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, like, that was a game trying to, like, encapsulate a culture. And the music is so integral to skater culture. I mean, and just seeing that in a game and just, like, seeing that represented, it's just, like, it's insane. It's just... it was perfect.
Like Rage Against the Machine as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Perfect.
definitely. But that's something that they take music from the real world, I guess, if you want to call it that. I mean, gaming can be the real
Is this
world
the real
too.
world? Who knows?
Just wait till you get into the real world. But yeah, I think that that's cool. Like an aspect like GTA, I know has like live radio type thing that has like music from different generations and music from different genres and all of that embedded into the game itself with like the radio when you're driving around. And I think that's a cool aspect, but it's almost cooler when soundtracks are made specifically for games and have their own like vibe to them that progress with the game itself. And I know you guys probably have a better understanding of this because I don't play many games. Like I said, I don't play things that like it's a storyline that you're involved in and you're like feeling moved by the characters and the music and the atmosphere and everything surrounding it. So are there any like games that you think of that have soundtracks that just make the game, like without the soundtrack, without the like audio transitions, it would be a completely different experience for you?
Yes. And I'm going to say Doom Eternal.
I was just about to say Doom.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Doom Eternal is the latest game in the Doom franchise, but I think it does the best. Like, so basically Doom is this, like, really fast-paced, like, shooter where you're constantly just, like, ripping demons apart and shooting them, and it's just a great time. There's always this, like, heavy metal in the back just, like, going off while you're on a rampage, and it's, like, it's just so fun and so immersive and so, like... I just get into it so much. Like, it's fantastic.
That's cool.
Yeah, the artist is Mick Gordon, and he specifically, like, he's a bass player, and he balanced, like, bass leaded riffs with, like, this crunchy, very, like, almost, like, dubstep-y, like, ambience that fit just, like, if you haven't heard it, it is... Like, talking about workout music. That's the workout music.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
BFG Division, I'm just like, oh, let's go. But, you talk about games that the soundtrack, like, weaves in and out. I think more recently, the new advancements in video game technology, especially with the PlayStation 5 and the new Xbox, is that they have a better solid-state drive. So loading times are, like, non-existent. Like, before it was, oh, you do a level, you enter a door, black screen, little loading thing, just, like, silence, and then a new thing loads, and then it would just load the song back up. It would really like be jarring and you could tell it's artificial. Whereas now in games like Red Dead Redemption 2 or the new God of War, it's practically seamless and they can do loading in a way where music can fade in and out and sound realistic and be more of an accompaniment. Where like I wouldn't necessarily say I'm popping on the Red Dead Redemption 2 soundtrack when I'm playing it if it's perfectly and I wouldn't want to turn it off and put on my own music.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see. Okay, so I'm like someone that very rarely will play Black Ops Zombies because I don't know, it's fun and aggressive and sometimes you need to let that out. And
oh yeah,
I never listen to the like because it's the same eerie tone, and then the rah of the zombies.
Yep.
Like that's all you hear in the game. And
Fetch their souls.
yeah, yeah, that. But I always end up like just taking out my phone, plugging it into a speaker, muting the game itself, or turning it down so that I can hear the runners coming at me, and playing like whatever music I'm feeling at the moment. But I noticed that like a lot of people that are really enthralled in games, and a lot of games that utilize their sound correctly, don't have that experience. Like they actually enjoy the music, the atmosphere, the ambiance, the vibes.
I mean, especially with like stuff like Black Ops Zombies, that's kind of like just like turn off your mind kind of game.
Right.
Just like chill, and it's infinite, so I'll just play till I die, like whatever. But with games like RDR2, Red Dead Redemption, it's like it's a whole different type of game. Like you're basically playing a movie. It's so cinematic. Like I remember specifically the first mission, the intro section. You're in this like frozen like hellscape of mountains. It's just like and as soon as you reach over the peak, there's like these ominous drums that start beating, and it just sounds like, oh crap, like I'm in the Wild West right now.
Yeah.
And it's just like so immersive, and it gets you into it, and it's just like, it's perfect.
Part of that open world building experience,
exactly.
right? So it kind of gives its own atmosphere to the game itself, and I think that's a cool aspect of like you were saying, the newer games that have like not just a line that you walk across like one dimensional, but like there's all these different aspects of the game that have different like sounds and energies and vibes. I hate my energies, vibes,
Energy
and atmosphere.
vibes.
Energy vibes.
Well, that's
But
true.
you know
I
what
mean, well, there's, specifically also in the gaming world, what, you're also picking up on was that there's a lot of multiplayer games that are focused on like Fortnite, PUBG, anything like that, even like Candy Crush. It's just like a multiplayer. Oh, it's a puzzle, or oh, it's a competition. Do this, and I think definitely there's where like you can take the music out, and then cinematically is where the music is highlighting. But it's almost like a movie, in the same way like a movie soundtrack, like ebbs and flows, is a way that the game one can work. But I don't know. Me personally, as you could tell from the like in the '90s aesthetic, there was a certain era of gaming in the '90s where the music was like perfect. It fit whimsical, like yet also like very like heavy beating vibe that just like set up the game to be something more than I guess what it seemed, and it really accompanied it. Like, have you guys ever played the Donkey Kong Country games from the Super Nintendo era?
I have, but a very long time ago.
Yeah, I think I might have vaguely.
Yeah. If you've listened to any playlist of chill Nintendo music, the underwater theme has come up because it is definitely one of the best. And also the same company that did Banjo-Kazooie.
Okay, yeah.
So the same guy who did like the GoldenEye soundtrack, Perfect Dark. I don't know if you ever heard those, but there was Grant Kirkhope, and he was like a classically trained musician that this game company came to, and they're like, hey, can you just make music for us? He's like, sure, I don't know anything about video games, but I'll just give it a shot. And one thing I specifically love was in Banjo-Kazooie especially, like, it was a big open like map, and you have to collect things. But if you went up higher in the map or underwater, the music would change. So like it'd be the same theme, but then like there'd be multiple tracks that then would switch over to, and like marimbas would start playing if you're underwater.
Yeah, I like when researching for this episode, I actually came across that example in Banjo-Kazooie. Like, if you go in certain sections or like change elevation, like it'll actually change the pitch of the music, which is like really interesting. I don't really know. I can't really recall any games that have done that since then.
Yeah.
No,
I mean that's like a perfect game to do it too with a 3D platformer.
Yeah, and I mean, also we were listening to some of the music beforehand, but Mario Odyssey.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Any Mario game is always killer music. I mean, from the original theme onward, just like everything is just like timeless.
Classic.
I mean, I specifically remember getting to oh god, what's it called? The city in Odyssey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that one song.
Yeah, and you get to the final the final stage of it where you're getting all the band members, and it finally comes together, and you're running across the stage. You can hear the music in the back. It's just so good.
Yeah, it was called Jump Up Superstar. Is that the one you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Like the beautiful like R&B like pop singer. Like yeah, it's great.
Yeah, very cool stuff. I've always enjoyed Mario and like Princess Peach and all of these little silly things. Like I remember a DS game for specifically Princess Peach.
I know which one you're talking about. I had that one too.
I loved it. It was
a great
so fun, and the soundtrack was so jumpy and fun and enjoyable. And it's got that like video game vibe to it. Obviously, it sounds like a video game soundtrack because it's a DS game. It's not like anything super intense, but I always like hear that if I ever heard that out in the real world. And I think about like childhood and it evokes such like important memories of playing video games like that. Same thing with Zelda for me. That's why I mainly played on the DS as a kid. And I always like think back to that stuff now and I'm like, oh, you know how important sounds are. It's more like, it's almost more important than smells. You know how people say that like a smell can bring you back to your childhood.
Yeah, Ocarina of Time, especially when we're talking about sound design in general, it has very unique sounds that, like, I hear it sampled all the time in music. And
Really?
I'll show you after. When we plan our stuff, I should have given you some sample of video game music because this one album is like perfect, and it samples Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time like 5 times over, and it's great.
Oh, damn.
Wow, that's cool.
You know, also when you talk about quickly about soundtracks that I love, one of the newer games, I think honestly in the game dev world as well, indie games are where to look at. AAA games, especially most recently ones, if anyone actually knows much about Battlefield 2042 or Halo Infinite.
I already got burned by 2042.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, it's COVID. I understand like some production setbacks, but it really kind of they dropped the ball hard. They were debating making the game free because they're like,
yeah, I saw that. Like, okay, so I was looking at the Steam charts the other day, and it said like 100,000 players at its maximum, and it was down to like 3,000.
Yep.
And I mean, I had the same experience with it. I spent $60 on it, and then 2 weeks later, didn't touch it again. Like,
yeah, and Lauren, if you don't know, like, there's some big problems with it. Like, one of them being the shooting just doesn't work.
Right.
Like, you'll be on them, and it doesn't hit them, and it's something to do with like the randomization of where the bullets go.
Like Bloom, I think.
Aren't walls disappearing and stuff too? Yeah, I've heard about all this.
You can't revive your teammate if like they're touching something just even slightly.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. I can't imagine how much work and effort they had to go through to make that game too, and then all of a sudden it's like released, kind of like the Super Bowl ad that crashed when there was the. Okay, so there was a Super Bowl ad for Bitcoin.
Oh,
and it was a QR code, and it was literally just bouncing from one side of the screen to the next, and it crashed. Like, it crashed while it was airing, and they bought 60 seconds of Super Bowl ad time. Like, that's ridiculously expensive, and they couldn't even get their website to work, and I'm sure that made a lot of people lose faith in the Bitcoin community, because if you can't get an ad to work, why could you get a currency to work online? But I see what you're saying. Like,
Bitcoin's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole. My bad. Sorry, totally off topic.
No. It is it's great though, because I mean,
it had that 90s nostalgia
This will be like a stamp in history. We can either be like, oh, Bitcoin, that silly thing, to like, we really should have, look back. Same way like when code first started, we're like, I don't know if this is a thing. Maybe. Like, it kind of is.
See, I don't have much faith in cryptocurrencies because I don't remember money having ads on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like the Bank of America.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, use the new USD. Like, we're getting so off topic here, but
off topic.
So, I was gonna say about soundtracks as well for indie games. Indie games where it's at, and one of my favorites of all time is Cuphead.
Yes.
And its soundtrack as well should be noted as one of the best.
It is great.
See, I have not played Cuphead, but it has been recommended to me so many times, where like to the point where I've looked up like footage online and seen it and heard the music and thought, wow, this looks so fun and this looks so great, but I've never played it.
Yeah.
So if you love games that kick you in the butt and
I'm a huge
doing
Dark Souls fan, so like I know that I would love it. Like,
right, I've watched it be played multiple times because I was watching these like people that I would normally consider sweaties like get their get their butt kicked off of this game, and I'm like, oh, but it's so cute, and the music, it's so cute, but no, it's a very difficult game. So I don't know. I actually was just in Ann Arbor and saw a book on the music and art style of Cuphead in a comic book store that I was at. And I thought that was super interesting considering we were about to do this podcast. I like peeked through it because I don't have the money to buy it. But I was like, oh, Cuphead is a great game. I'm glad you brought that up because I've watched playthroughs of it and I've watched people play it live in person. And it's always been like one of those games that I'm like, dang, kind of wish I gamed because that would be fun.
See,
like
that's a game that just oozes personality.
Definitely.
Like, and I mean that's kind of brings me to another thing I wanted to bring up, but how a soundtrack can like work so well with like the art design of a game. A great example of this is Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of my favorite games of all time. This is the only Zelda game I've ever played, but it has such like a wondrous yet like very minimal soundtrack, which translates to gameplay so well. Like when you're going out and exploring or going out and doing basically whatever you want, like the music changes to like the scenario you're in. So like if you're exploring and you find something cool, it kind of like there's kind of like a little something in the back and it's a little like synthesizers going off and it just like kind of creeps up on you until you kind of just see the thing and you're like, whoa, and then it all comes to fruition. It's just like one of the best games for game design. I mean, sound design, in my opinion.
Yeah, and one of the great ways they used that too was, especially in the Korok forest, where in the old games it would be like, they actually did this in Wind Waker as well. They used renditions of the themes from Lost Woods and like the Forest Temple in Ocarina of Time, and just like underlaid that. Especially in Breath of the Wild, there's a lot of instances where like almost like the wind is part of the soundtrack and it just dictates when things come in. So it's very much like, the same thing. Like, it's almost like when you are taking a hike by yourself and like little parts of songs will come in and out. It's like that. So it's really minimal but really well done. And then you get into a fight scene, you're like, oh, now it's here. You know, like giant orchestras.
I mean, I also want to mention about the Korok Forest because this just made me remember of it, but like they use the music as like a gameplay like mechanic because when you're going through the Korok Forest, like there's a specific path that you have to go through, and the music gets louder if you go to somewhere like you can't go to, and like you don't know like the actual path because it's all like clouded in mist, so it's like you're listening to the music to figure out where to go, which is so smart. And when I first realized that, I was like, wow, like this is pretty solid. It's a pretty solid game.
Yeah,
like,
that's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I love like beautiful sound design in games. I love the idea of all of that like atmospheric thing that you were saying, where as you're walking around, it gives you tells as to where you should be going. And I think that's also a big part of like horror gaming, definitely. Like telling you where you should be and giving you cues, just audio. I think that horror gaming has such cool opportunities for like noise design, sound design, and like music design as well. I have played a few through. I can't even remember the names of them in all honesty because I'm really bad with games. But I always love listening in on horror sounds. Like they're so interesting. Like you know, have you seen those videos of people like using like washboards to do weird, like creepy, or like just even the footsteps alone, they can make them so eerie in these video games. I think that's super cool.
They focus on like ambience of like the echoes in like a steel cage or something. Yes, it's very, very awesome. And like, you know, there's Resident Evil 8 that came out. That I mean, like top of my head, I can't think of, you know, a song from there. But you're right, and it sits perfectly and adds to it. And there's also this is big back in the day. Have you guys heard of PT?
Oh yeah,
playable trailer.
The Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Or he was gonna do a remake.
So it was planned to be a remake of Silent Hill or like a reboot, but that never came to fruition. If you haven't checked that out, if you want to see something that's just like an experience that's scary, and also great sound design, because it's point like the phone will like pick up and it has like layers and layers of every time you go deeper and deeper into it, it kind of gets more and more eerie and creepy. That especially is like.
That's cool. I think you can go really hardcore on that stuff, and then you could also take it super simple. Like, I don't know if you guys remember when Slender Man was like a huge thing, or even like Five Nights at Freddy, but it's like just literally like big crackling ear rape and then you're good to go. That was scary enough for me. That's all I needed to be like nervous in this game. But another like completely different note I was recommended was Amori. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. And I was told that it's kind of like Undertale, like a little weird horror game like that you wouldn't expect to be. And I listened through to a lot of the soundtrack and really enjoyed it. It's got like almost weird like hyperpop undertones, if I could describe it that way.
Hyperpop in a horror game.
I don't know.
That sounds interesting.
I don't know how to explain it. It was the very beginning was like orchestral. It sounded like Studio Ghibli-esque almost, like, and the album art was very like colorful and pretty, and so I figured I still haven't played the game, so I wouldn't know exactly what it's like when you're playing it through, but I figure that it like kind of invites you in with like this like cutesy little oh my god, this is gonna be a fun game for me, and then it gets really like weird and creepy and uncomfortable super quick, and I'm getting nods, so I assume that I'm right there.
And music is alone, like visuals can aid to that, but music, it's like you can get away with hiding things a lot more, and especially like getting away with more like undertones to kind of really set a mood that, you know, especially when it comes to horror, it's underestimated. Like I've seen some creepy visuals, but at the same time, like, oh, that's just paintbrush and this and that. But when you hear something that you kind of know but don't know, it adds a layer of, you know, mystery that I think is really creepy.
Definitely, yeah.
And you're talking about like a Studio Ghibli movie. Have you heard of the game Ni no Kuni?
Oh, I've heard of Ni no Kuni.
No.
I've heard great things about it, but I've not played it.
It's a very cool game. It's like an action RPG, very Japanese, like anime-esque, and like straight out of like a Studio Ghibli movie. Like the beginning, you're in a small town. You know, your mom's getting groceries. It also looks so wholesome.
Oh.
And the soundtrack is done by the same guy who has done, let's see, Hisashi. Let's say that. And he worked for the Studio Ghibli movies, and he worked with the Tokyo Philharmonic Orchestra to do the soundtrack for that game.
Wow.
Like, it's a complete full orchestra in the game, and it's fantastic. You know, when I think of a video game soundtrack that stands on its own, it is like playing an anime, and it is just like, how about immersive?
Yeah, I mean,
cool.
it, like, especially with what I've seen about it and, like, the art design about it, like, it looks like a painting. Like, that's a game that, like, looks amazing.
Yeah.
And I definitely need to go back and play that one when I have some time.
That's very cool. Yeah, beautiful games are so interesting to me. Like I said, I like the horror aspects too. I think that I've always been drawn to that kind of stuff, and it can be interesting to see where they take it to a dark world. But like, oh man, I've seen stuff like what you're talking about with this beautiful animation style that you can't even believe is a game. Like, you can barely fathom it as a TV show or a movie, but then to think that it's interactive and it's got this beautiful soundtrack to go with it that's just like got an orchestra. I can't imagine how much work time, how many people go into these like intense projects, and then the outcome is just so awesome for individuals to enjoy. That's so cool.
And it's just exciting overall that video games itself are being looked at more of a medium of art. And don't get me wrong,
It really is.
I think probably the beginning of that, like, really would probably be the late 2000s when hardware with the 360, like, I would say like Portal is one of the great like first games where there's a great story. It's short, it's simple, it's also fun in new ways of thinking. But a lot of indie games, like there's Bastion, there was Braid, they really were trying to just tell a story, but the part of being interactive really added to it.
Yeah,
and,
it enhances it so much. That's why
and I will VR.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I just got a VR system a few weeks ago, and I've been playing Skyrim on it, and immersive as hell. Let me just tell you. But anyways,
that sounds cool.
Like that's why I will always prefer video games over TV and movies, because if you take a game like God of War, have you played God of War?
Yes, it's amazing.
Like, yeah, it's like it's basically like you're playing out like the best movie or TV series ever. Like, it's so cinematic, it's so deep, the characters are so good, and I mean,
you're a part of it.
Yeah, exactly. And you're actually like controlling him. You get so like into it and so immersed into the world. And I think with a game like that, the music really complements that so well, because it's got all these like Nordic chants, and it's just like really ominous, but makes you feel like a complete badass. It's just,
That's super cool. That's like, I grew up playing World of Warcraft. Like,
you played WoW?
yeah, I don't.
She says I don't game.
I don't, but one of my best friends did, and
Okay.
she was always like, I kind of wanted to be like her. She was a gamer girl. She played all of the video games, still does, and she played World of Warcraft and like made me my own account and all this stuff. I had to keep it on the down low because I had a religious mom. And Worldcraft and witchcraft was not a thing, but I remember playing, and it was like super fun, and the soundtrack was super like chanty and atmospheric and super cool. And like in the winter time, I'm pretty sure there was different like soundtracks versus when you were in like a flowery summery place. And I always thought that was such a cool aspect of World of Warcraft. And I could kind of see, I've heard a lot about God of War, and I've heard that it's like a super intense game, and I could see on a way like smaller scale note about World of Warcraft it being kind of a similar vibe. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
But
World of Warcraft especially was, they marketed it big as being like, it's a new world. You can live however you want it to live. And I mean, the soundtrack is also very good, especially the Warcraft games themselves, not the multiplayer online ones, but just the single ones, were very reminiscent, especially at the time like Lord of the Rings was out. Like, you know, like that era of fantasy, like World of Warcraft pushed that. And it, you know, definitely very immersive and very like cinematic and orchestrated, where, you know, it still fits though into like the limitations of the hardware, because that was like what, 2003, 2004,
right.
So it still fit, and it was definitely something that really immersed you in.
Yeah, cool world building. But there's like, on a completely different note of video games, like video games that are fully revolving around music, like Guitar Hero or Just Dance or things like that. Those are so fun too, and I feel like instead of creating an atmosphere that you go into with the screen, you often find yourself creating an atmosphere with the people you're playing the game with in the room. And it's kind of more like a classic like board game vibe. Like as you're all hanging out, you're dancing together, you're singing together. And I think that the music aspect of that can make it so much more fun, especially, you know, with like Guitar Hero and stuff like that, or like Rock Band. Like
Just Dance.
Just Dance is classic, man. I played it at my birthday. It was pretty hype. Like when you get people up and moving or singing or playing a fake guitar, like you know you're having a good time.
Last time I played it, they played the Rah Rah Rasputin. They played that like 5 times in a row. Like, okay, is there a different song? Like, nope.
I'm convinced Just Dance is the reason why the Wii sold so well.
It did, yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
It's that and Mario Kart. Like,
Yeah.
what else are you playing on the Wii?
I don't know if, I think this what like Just Dance, even the ones that came out like 2019 were still released on the Wii because they knew people had the Wii.
Yeah.
And it was like the only game coming out for the Wii because they knew it would sell.
I know it's on the Switch now, but I don't know. Like,
I have a
really-
Switch and a Wii. I just got a Switch for Christmas from my roommates. God bless their souls.
Oh,
Nice
you
people.
have great roommates.
I know.
Like-
And now we all play like Mario Kart together.
Oh, that
and
sounds a little fun.
my boyfriend got me Animal Crossing, so that's how I play that. And I'm itching to get a Zelda game or like a horror game. I'm really itching to get any game on there
Get
at
Breath
this
of the Wild.
point.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, and we still go back to the Wii all the time to play like Just Dance or like to play Mario Kart on the Wii specifically because there's just such a fun energy to like early 2000s reminiscing on Wii.
oh,
like,
that's beautiful.
Oh.
It's so fun.
Why have we not talked about Mario Kart music yet?
Oh,
Mario Kart's always great.
killer.
Like, yeah, that just honestly goes without saying. Like,
it is
you-
iconic.
Like you just feel the energy in the tracks while you're. I mean, something that always comes to my mind when I think of Mario music is the star power up, the do 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 do
Yep.
do do. Like that is just so iconic, and it's just like honestly a gaming staple now. That sound.
Oh, and even just the sounds that come out of like the characters themselves. I am a Waluigi stan, and I just constantly am around my apartment being a fool, being like, wah, it's just wah, constantly. Or like even like the Yoshi noises, like the amount of imitation I do for like Mario characters, it's pretty much embarrassing. My boyfriend will toad scream. Like, well,
Oh no.
one time, the funniest thing that's ever happened to me was he like walked into the bathroom. We were having a little get together. He walked into the bathroom, closed the door, and like Toad screamed at full volume. And everybody was like, "What happened? What happened?" It was just a Toad scream. It was a good time.
Yeah, this happens often. Like,
Yeah.
sorry about him.
Yeah, sorry. He just one of his quirks. I don't know. I love Mario Kart and the music and the sounds.
Yeah. Especially like even like the Mario Party games, they definitely know
Yeah.
how to bring a level of intensity that, like if you heard it in a movie, you'd be like, okay, like what's happening?
Yeah.
But you're talking about like Rock Band soundtracks. My friend for New Year's, he is a big internet savvy dude, and he has a modded 360. And let's just say he has every song that was able to download from Rock Band 1 to Rock Band 3. So he had like 2,000 some songs. We just like go through. It's just like
That's
there's
so fun.
so many, and then like of course we had to put like Avril Lavigne.
Oh yeah.
We get like the girls on the mics. It was just like so much fun. But like I don't know if you remember like your first Guitar Hero game. For me, it was Guitar Hero 2, and that actually brought me into my classic rock phase. Like I found like Megadeth from there. I found Guns N' Roses, especially even Metallica, and also like the Beatles Rock Band. When that came out, I hate to say it, but when the Beatles Rock Band came out, I was like, yeah, who even are the Beatles? And then that's what got me into the Beatles.
That's so fun. I had never heard Weezer before.
Like I knew
Rock
of the
Band.
Beatles. I'm like, okay, well let's actually listen to their music.
So I have a question for you guys then.
Yes.
What is your guys' song on Rock Band? Like, what is the first song you're picking when you load any Rock Band up?
Oh man.
I was a drummer, and my friend also
You-
had the MIDI MIDI drum board where you could plug in an adapter to play on your PS4. So literally, like you could hook up like a Roland drum kit to play Rock Band.
That's sick.
That's nuts.
So we set it up. We spent like $200 between the 3 roommates, downloaded stuff. I worked so hard to get 5 gold stars on Wait and Bleed by Slipknot.
Okay.
And then also the song, like I was pretty good at the drums too. The song, what's the Mastodon song that was in Rock Band 2? Colony of Birchman. That was it. I was really good at that song. But yeah, I always like went to those heavier songs, and then anyone else that was playing with me was like, "Dude, I can't do guitar on this. Like, I have to go on like medium."
It's very different from my pick.
That's so fun. What's yours?
I Want You Back, Michael. I mean, the Jackson 5. Sorry.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, baby, give me. Dude, I was so good. I hit the vocals.
Was that Rock Band 3 or was that?
I think it was. I think it was like a really obscure one. Like, I think it might have been Lego Rock Band.
Oh,
Okay.
Lego Rock Band.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know they had
remember-
the Ghostbusters theme on there.
Yeah, they did.
That was awesome.
I remember this one specific day. It was a snow day, and it was when I was really young, and me and my sister, were just chilling, and we've never played Lego Rock Band before, and we're just like, okay, let's play this. And so we played it for 12 hours.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
We got like every single upgrade in like one sitting, knew all the songs, and then
Dude.
never touched it again.
I love that.
Do you guys ever do achievement hunting like, back in the day? When we had the 360, we played Rock Band 2, me and my brother, and one summer day we're like, okay, we're doing this achievement. And the achievement was play through every song in a row. There was like a specific button to click to do that without pausing. And do it. So we would switch in and out, and there was also a trick where you could unplug the batteries, and then it would be like, oh, your controller disconnected, and it wouldn't pause it for you. So like if we really wanted to break, we would do that. But from like 1 p.m. to like 6 p.m., we were like switching in and out.
Oh my
That's
god.
so
And then we
funny.
finally did it, and we're just like, oh god, okay. Now we just like, never gonna touch this again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Achieved. We
Yeah.
did the thing. Good
Oh.
job, y'all.
That was sweet. Let's never play this again.
Yeah.
I always love that. Like, especially for games, like you set up like such a high bar. Like I know you played Dark Souls. You're
Yeah.
like, I gotta beat this, and then once you beat it, you're like, well, I'm done with it now.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'd play through again, but you're like, I did it.
Hey. Well,
Oh, really quick before we end though, I know something that you guys will love. You ever know like the Donkey Konga games?
Oh yeah, like the
Yeah.
bongo drum
On the
controller?
GameCube?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know if you remember the soundtracks, but they were wild. Like this is from Donkey Konga 2, All Star by Smash Mouth, Bombastic by Shaggy.
oh my god.
They had a Hillary Duff song. They had Headstrong by Trapped. They had Losing My Religion, a Mary J. Blige song, like Good Charlotte, like and
On
like
Donkey
and like
Kong?
Pink, yeah, and like Usher
Giving me
and TLC,
2000s.
and I'm like, I remember going through. I'm like, what is this? Like, then they like have like classical songs, like a Beethoven song, and then it's just like,
Oh my god.
Is
that's
this
so
like
funny.
Donkey
Incubus.
Kong's like playlist or something? Is this like lore accurate? Like
yeah,
Yeah. You're in the mind of Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
His like elevator music going through is like
The DK
all-star.
rap.
That's just what he's playing when he's
Yeah.
trying to get bananas. And
Oh my god, that's so
Oh,
funny.
and the DK rap though.
oh yeah,
Donkey,
yeah.
go. He's the leader
is-
of.
Oh my god.
That is a
That's
slap.
like unlocking a memory.
See, that's the '90s. Everything was either rap, hip hop, basketball, something of the
Or
sort,
Donkey Kong.
and it was great. Or Donkey Kong. He's the boy.
All right. Well, I really enjoy talking about video games with y'all. I feel like I learned a lot. I feel like I have some great game recommendations that I'm gonna take home with me and
Yeah, if you see
hopefully
a
play.
Nintendo gift card somewhere, for you,
Yeah.
don't question it. Just buy Hades,
Okay.
and you'll be good.
Most
Have
definitely.
you not played Hades?
No, I haven't played anything, dude. I play
You gotta
Mario
play
Kart,
Hades.
Animal Crossing,
She's got to pay off Tom Nook.
Solitaire on my phone because I'm a grandma. Like nothing.
You have some catching up to do.
I know.
You have some
I
catching up
know. If only I had the time.
Yeah.
Anywho, that's about all the time we've got. So
Ooh,
I'm gonna give you guys a good old goodbye. Thanks for listening. Come meet us in more. Hang out with More Media Records. This was Off the Air Podcast. I'm Lauren.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Christian. Tune in next time.
Bye.
See ya.